Hey guys, welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast, the only show handcrafted for small business entrepreneurs looking to explode their business. It's time to get your mind right so you can get your grind right. Are you ready?
A business cannot be dependent on you as a person. It needs to be dependent on the system that produces a result.
Hey friends, thank you for joining me. This is Joshua Latimer, and you are listening to the Quick Talk Podcast, where my job is to bring you actionable, real-life business insights from people all over the world. Today, I have a guy who has achieved a level of success that is very uncommon in the cleaning industry, being that it's a difficult business to scale. I'm super excited to talk to Michael Dahlke. Now, Michael has been kind of under the radar a little bit in our industry, but I saw a couple things about him on the internet because he's emerged kind of as a keynote speaker. He's giving back to the industry. He wants to help smaller businesses. He has a heart for people. He's a super nice guy. I've really enjoyed getting to know him. He's the owner of Blue Skies Window Cleaning. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, in a second, but I think it's in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or in that area, and they're doing over $2 million in revenue, 50 plus employees, growing like wildfire, and he's going to have a lot of really important things to share with us so that we can all learn how to grow and improve our businesses. Michael, thanks for talking to me this morning. How are you?
I am well, and to correct you, we are in Minneapolis, we are in Portland, Oregon, and we are in Cincinnati, Ohio currently. But we are headquartered, and I am currently sitting in my office in a suburb of Minneapolis.
Okay, so does that mean you're a Minnesota Vikings fan then?
I absolutely despise the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh.
I am a Green Bay Packer fan, and it will go to my grave as a Green Bay Packer fan.
Okay, so that actually makes it worse for me because I'm a Detroit Lions fan, which is kind of shameful to admit in a way, but you guys are like our arch enemies. But we'll just put that on the side for this interview because, you know, I have no ammunition anyway for that conversation.
I think that's wise on your part.
Yes,
especially with the
I
record
agree.
so far this year.
The tail is between the legs. I am retreating. Okay, so Blue Skies Window Cleaning, this is a massive company, and like I mentioned in the intro, a lot of guys, they hit their head on the ceiling trying to grow their business, and it's really hard to get past. I think $100,000 in revenue is like the first kind of win for a founder. He's like, yeah, I did it, and then 300 is a pretty big milestone. 500 is a big milestone, and then the elusive million mark. Very, very, very few people hit that 7 figures. You're doing more than double that. Tell us a little bit, if you could, about who you are, where you came from. How did this happen? How'd you get to where you are today?
Well, Josh, I've been very, very fortunate, and I'm excited about where we are today. What I would want most people to know about me is that I'm nothing special. I don't have a silver spoon. I don't have an MBA. I don't have a Harvard education. I came from a really small town in Wisconsin of 2,000 people. My dad was a road construction worker. My mom babysat, now works with autistic kids. So there's what I really want people to know is I'm just an average guy, but I've been really fortunate to be in the right place at the right time a lot of times. And when I've been in those situations, the work ethic that I've had growing up with a blue collar family with some white collar relatives as well, that work ethic has allowed me to capitalize on being in the right place at the right time. And more importantly, I've been able to have people on our team who are really, really good and are really, really talented and care a lot about what we're doing. So it may look like I'm somebody special, and the way you say that with our revenue and our employee numbers, it sounds really, really cool. But if you're here today, you'd know that I'm just an average guy who's working really, really hard, surrounded by a team of really, really awesome people who are doing really, really good things.
That is really, really well put, and I appreciate that because I can tell you right now, a lot of people listening to this, they literally, in their heart, in their mind, they don't even think it's possible to get anywhere near the size of where your business is. But I can assure everybody listening, this is real. They're just people, and you can achieve these things. And a lot of times it can just be small modifications in the way that you think and the way that you handle yourself that can really catapult your business. And the big takeaway from what you just said to me was the word team. And a lot of Lone Rangers are out there, Michael. There's a lot of Lone Rangers that want to do it all. Maybe they're perfectionists at the technical level or whatever the reason is. Let's talk about the importance of team for a minute. Do you have business partners? Do you have like a general manager? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so at the ownership level, there is currently 4 owners. It started out as 3. We've had a key person who has bought in. And my 2 original founding partners put in money and are somewhat silent, but we have an annual board meeting. They support me along the way. They are a support system. They're a sounding board for questions, but they're not in the day-to-day operations. In fact, I bet you that if one of them probably couldn't find our office on a map. But they are very, very supportive. I love having them as business partners. From the team standpoint, we don't have a general manager. We have myself who manages the business. We have a gentleman by the name of Derek Christian, who is helping us and partnering with us on the maid service part of the business. And then we have production managers across the board. So we have 4 production managers on the window cleaning side of the business. We have 4 production managers on our home cleaning side of our business. And then we also have a phone team manager who manages our centralized call center.
Wow. Okay. Well, that sounds like a nice structure. And for the little guy who's on a ladder with his earphones in and he's listening to this podcast and he's hearing production manager and departments and multi-state business and all this stuff, it's like totally overwhelming. How does someone like him, we'll just call that guy Jim, how does Jim get his company big? I know this is an open-ended question, but how does he transition from that ladder to being in an office, having a meeting with a group of production managers? What are some of the steps to get there?
Yeah, so I think that you hit it on the head earlier when you said that there is a point at 100,000 where it's kind of that first milestone, and there's 300, and then there's 1 million. What we see in the industry is a little bit sooner than you have the guy who does the work for a little extra money, and he can get up to about 30,000. He's got a full-time job usually, and he can't make the break to the next level because he has this problem of he's got to go to work every day. And he may quit his job, and then he might go in full-time, and he can get up to that 70, 80,000 a year level here in Minnesota because we only have about 6 weeks to produce. In other areas of the country, you can get up to maybe that 100,000, 120,000, and then the real need at that point is to have employees and develop a team. When we started, our business was at 60,000 of revenue. We bought it. We had owned another business, a background check business, and we had 1 technician. He had worked with the company for a long time. The company was declining in revenue for each of the last 4 years. The manager of the company was stealing from the owner of the company. It was a mess. So when we started, I was the call center on an iPhone. I was the technician. I was the banker. I was everything. And that is how I would understand most of your listeners that you're saying are up on the ladder with their earphones are in. So we took some steps to move to the next level. The biggest thing, and that at that level, is just sheer hard work. If you ask me, you cannot, call her a day and say, I'm not gonna call this person back till tomorrow. You've got to get after it as hard and as fast as you possibly can because you've got to get that momentum going. So some of the things that we did, Josh, is we invested 10% of our revenue into marketing. And we did it into streams that didn't require any effort from me. So flyers in the newspaper or we did door hangers and things like that, a lot of the stuff that your guys are probably doing. But we always made sure it was 10%. And what we did was we tracked the new customers that came from those sources and said, okay, what if for every dollar I invest in a flyer or a door hanger or whatever strategy your listeners choose, this is how many clients I get for them. And at that time, I think our client acquisition cost was somewhere around $150 we'd have to invest to get a client. Now, that's not very good if your clients are paying you $200 and you really got to get them back. But we figured out, okay, what can we do to reduce that number, and how many referrals do we get? And we figured out what we would classify as a business model to say, okay, if we invest this many dollars of revenue, or this many dollars into marketing, this is the amount of money it provides. We typically upsell this amount per job. So for every X dollar we input into marketing, it yields us a job that's this big, and the profit is this big. So we could start to predict in the future, based on our marketing, how much revenue we have. Once we were able to do that, we were able to hire an employee and say, okay, we can predict, because we're going to save up this money and we're going to invest in the marketing, we can hire another employee. So the next step we had was we hired another employee, and then I was in the office answering the phones, and we had both the technicians out. We don't do site, and it was a big argument in the window cleaning industry, but we decided not to do on-site estimates, but do them over the phone. Mm-hmm. And we kept searching for new marketing levers to invest in. So as we were able to find better and had more money to invest in marketing, it fueled our growth moving forward, where we could say we can predict with some level of certainty how many technicians we need, how much growth we're going to need, how many phone calls are going to come in, and that allowed us to figure out what we needed for staffing.
Wow, and that is a lot of stuff to unpack, but you hit the nail on like 7 different things. I'm taking notes as you're talking, because the small business owner is absolutely freaked out, Mike, to invest on a consistent go-forward basis money into marketing. And so what I see in my experience is this: people, they do spray and pray marketing, or whatever you want to call it. Like, they'll try something for a minute. Like, they'll do something. They'll do a direct mail campaign. They'll spend some money here. They'll try some money there. It's very sporadic. There's no consistency to it. And then they typically don't track things like the way that they should. Like the fact that you even mentioned your customer acquisition costs. Most guys don't know what that is, and maybe they're overwhelmed by it. But guys, this guy, okay, if you have a business doing $100,000 in total revenue and you're spending $10,000 on marketing, that hurts. That's pain. But that's how you scale your company. You have to purchase your customers. They cost money, guys, and you have to be funneling that money into marketing. And I think some guys are saving up for the bass boat, Mike, instead of, doubling down on scaling their business. But at the same time, they're complaining that their business isn't growing.
Yeah, and that may be true, and there's definitely a place, and there's nothing wrong with saving up for the bass boat, in my opinion. If your business, you want the lifestyle business of a window cleaner, where you go clean windows, there's a lot of guys up here in Minnesota who will clean for 6 months, and then they'll go ice fishing, or they'll vacation to Florida, and they'll get out of town, and they like that lifestyle. But if you're looking to grow a business cannot be dependent on you as a person. It needs to be dependent on the system that produces a result. And if you don't know the inputs of, if you're going to have a factory, we always talk about that we have a manufacturing plant here. There's a box. We input money into that box in the form of marketing. That's our input. Stuff happens inside that box. What does that box have to look like? What does your machine have to look like? How much money can you put in the machine? And once you have that machine refined, you know those answers. You can predict with reasonable certainty. Where we've had our big growth, Josh, and you're saying 10,000, that's painful. Our big growth was when we were investing 20 to 25%, but we still knew we could do it because we knew what that machine would take. We don't invest that same amount now. We're bigger. It's harder for us to scale as fast. But early, if we go back just a year or two, 25% in the marketing, which if you look at the size of our company, is a very big number. It's not for the bass boat. It definitely holds down the owner's income. But if you're trying to grow a business, those are the investments to make.
Absolutely. And 25% on a company that's doing probably more than 300,000 in revenue is basically all of your net profit. I mean, and that would be a good net profit margin anyway on a business that's starting to get, 10, 15, 20 employees or something. So you funneled everything back in. And I hear this over and over. I have a friend in New Jersey that had a $3 million window cleaning business. He did the same thing. This guy, he was eating bologna sandwiches for dinner when his business was doing 70,000 a month because he was focused on the end result, which is, like you said, you're not wrong if you want to have a lifestyle business at all. Not at all, of course. But if you're trying to build, a real business that manufactures profit for you, even if you take your hands off of it, then you have to double down and scale the thing, and that takes delayed gratification and reinvestment of the money. I mean, that's what you're saying. Is that right?
It absolutely is. And to your point, and to the point of me being just an average guy, the desk chair that I sit in is still missing a wheel and has been for 4 years, and we don't invest the money to get the new desk chair because a customer won't exchange their value for me to have a better desk chair. I still get made fun of for eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day, but I'd rather invest that money into something that matters to me than in going out to eat every lunch or having a $300 desk chair.
Wow, that's really good, and that takes some self-discipline and some focus. Listen up. Now remember, being self-employed is not the same as being a business owner. And if you are looking for a way to automate your business and build yourself a clear path to the dream that keeps eluding you, then check out my online small business bootcamp. It's a go at your own pace, it's power-packed, it's a mind bomb. It will help you understand exactly how to architecture out and systematize your small business right now so you can finally be back in control. Go to windowwealth.com right now and check it out. Use the code MINDBOMB to save 30%. It's time to invest in yourself. Let's spend a minute and talk about the benefits of having an actual business. People get really confused and they think they have a business, but really they're just self-employed. And there is a difference there, and there's a bunch of books that talk about that, Robert Kiyosaki, and the difference between being self-employed and being a business owner. But that's really kind of what we're talking about here. A business is a box, like you described it. That's a perfect way to look at it. And there's mechanisms that your job is to build and optimize and to grease up and to polish. And you put the mechanisms in the box, and then they're supposed to spit out a profit. But more than that, to me, the reason to do that is, one, what if you get hurt? What if the guy in the ladder, falls off the ladder? His income is going to, vaporize in like 2 seconds. And then what if you never systemize your business and you get overwhelmed by it? You know how many divorces there are every year because small businesses are totally buried. They're overwhelmed. They don't have any systems in place. They don't have help. They're a lone ranger. They don't focus on the team. I mean, to me, systems are about family, work balance, having better quality of life. But like you said, you make a lot less money today so that you can set that up. But is that kind of the benefit for you too? I mean, I know you're a family guy, if I remember. Does that resonate with you?
It does, and I'm going to just take a quick step back from that and say that there was a season of life where my family had to sacrifice and me not being there. So my wife has made tremendous sacrifices for me to do what I love to do, which is what I'm doing. And I think that if someone wants to get to this level, that they have to understand that there is a season where you're going to have to give up personal things. However, Josh, you hit it right on the head. We talk about it all the time, is having a job versus a business. I have a group of great Christian men that I go duck hunting with every year that I get drawn in South Dakota with. They're great human beings, and one of them's a fellow window cleaner, and he wasn't able to go last year, partly because he hasn't been able to, and I have no doubt he will. He's an excellent guy. He hasn't been able to get past that part where he owns a job. He doesn't own a business, he owns a job. He has to go to work every day. He has to close out invoices. He has to schedule work. He has to do that. Where when I went last year, and granted it wasn't the same way, and this is really a big testament to my team, they didn't call. I didn't have to worry about it. We went and enjoyed the 4 days with great Christian men, had a great time, revitalized me personally, and my team was able to handle everything. They're so good. So there is definitely something with that. As far as family time goes, my wife is a volleyball coach. She coaches at a Christian club, and she coaches in the high school season. So fall is a very busy time for window cleaners here, and I've been able to spend time with my son while she's coaching. Now, I'll come to work I get into work around 6 o'clock, sometimes a little earlier, but I've been able to go home at 2:30 during peak window season time, take care of my son while she's at practice, and then a lot of times still working at night if there's something that I really need to do. But I've been able to design my work times around my family, which I'm sure that people listening who are on the ladder right now realize that your life probably is still designed around when the customer wants you to be there, not when you want to be there.
Oh, my word. Like, I'm so pumped up, I almost have goosebumps. I'm not being cheesy. Like, this is critical. I want people so bad, Mike, to understand this. Like, systemizing and automating your business, it creates elasticity for you on a personal level. It does so many things. First of all, it creates an asset for your family. You can't sell your job. The guy on the ladder who's the everybody, he's the estimator, the office manager, he's the mechanic, he's the guy doing everything. That guy can't sell that job. That's not a business. So there's no legacy there for his kids. There's no asset being built if you get hurt, so all that. But more than that, my kids, the school bus would drop them off at my work. They'd come, they'd play baseball outside my office. They'd go out. I'd play ping pong with them in our meeting room. We had a ping pong table. I had tremendous elasticity. And so although I chose to work really hard, I didn't have to. I met my wife for lunch constantly. I'd go on date night. I had, all these days set aside for my kids. And so here the point is there is real value in really looking at this for everybody listening and maybe making a serious choice to delay that gratification, run through that season, like Michael said, that season of grinding, that season of putting the parts in the box and assembling the box. If you can get through that, there's so much more value for you in your life. And I do agree that being self-employed and owning your own job, that's still better than just having a job. Like, that's a step up. But what we're talking about, guys, is like 10 steps up from that. Like, this is the greatest. This is why America is awesome, is that we can go out and do stuff like this.
Are you looking for a simple way to get more sales, more referrals, and strengthen your customer loyalty? Look no further than sendjim.com. It was handcrafted for you as a powerful tool that will automate your follow-ups after the sale. Imagine being able to stay in contact with your customers all year long by pushing a single button on your smartphone. This is a space-age warp speed technology, and it will eliminate the chaos inside your business caused by trying to properly follow up with all of your leads and customers. Sign up for a free trial with no credit card required at sendjim.com right now. What are you waiting for?
So let's transition, Michael. That's really good stuff. I'm a big quote guy. Do you have like a favorite personal quote? And after you answer that, is there any good books that you're reading right now that kind of play into what we're discussing that could help some of the people listening?
As far as quotes go, Josh, the people around here hear my quotes all the time. I have a bookshelf full of books, and I steal quotes all the time. The one, if you ask my team, that they say is probably my favorite quote is, if you want to make an omelet, you got to crack some eggs. And we talk about it all the time, that we're not going to be perfect the first time we do something. So a lot of times the business owner will try to be perfect. You have to make a decision. Do you want to get the perfect truck? Do you want to get the perfect system? Do you want to figure out exactly how to do something before you do it? Or do you want to step into the ring, take the punches, figure it out, and get better? Both ways work, but we've made the decision that we're not going to be perfect the first time. We're going to constantly work to get better, and our team's very good at that. So whenever we try something new, whether it's our new maid service business or the first time we did an acquisition or the first vehicle we ever bought or the first time we cleaned the roof or soft washed the house with chemical, we've always said, if you want to make an omelet, you got to crack some eggs.
Yeah, progress, not perfection.
Absolutely, absolutely. As far as good books, the one that I've read that I'd recommend to any of the listener who's the guy on the ladder is the E-Myth. The E-Myth is revolutionary. All of our production managers, it's required reading for, followed by the book Raving Fans. Both are set in a fable-type story, so it's very easy to read, but they get the point across. E-Myth more on systems, and the Raving Fans more on how to create real good customer service, which is so important in our industry.
Absolutely. I think to divert for 2 seconds, the Raving Fans issue, a lot of guys, not just in window cleaning, but carpet cleaning, and there's people from lots of service industries that listen to this, but they focus too much on the single transaction. And so I call this a transactional mentality. They want to leave the cave, they want to club something, they want to drag it home, right? And then that's how they view a sale. But what they should view the sale as, a lifetime value of the relationship. And we would use words in my business like relationship marketing and, managing customer expectations after the sale. And that's a whole part of the business that I don't think people even know is there sometimes. I think it's completely lost in the shuffle for whatever reason. Is that a big focus for you guys as far as post-job relationship marketing and kind of managing that for the lifetime value?
Josh, you were probably way better at it than we were. It is a focus. Lifetime value of a client is something that we're only we're still only in our fourth year. So we're still determining what is the lifetime value of a customer. We don't have enough data to get it yet. We have some assumptions, but we don't have the data. As far as relationships, we are trying to figure that piece out. But I can tell you that if there's an area that we struggle, it's probably that. We're working on the systems, we're working on the processes for developing that. But I would bet that I could learn from you, Josh, and a lot of your listeners on that lifetime value, relationship marketing, that sort of thing. Not that I'm saying that we're a transactional company. We have a lot of repeat business, and we are very, very high on the quality score. But we definitely have a lot of areas to improve in that respect, too.
Yeah, and it's like 8 times cheaper to keep a customer than it is to get a new one. And the thing is about losing a customer, or as we call it, attrition, right? That's the business term for losing a customer. They don't call you and send you a text like, hey Mike, we're going to hire the other guy. Just want to give you a courtesy text, right? You don't know that it happened. So it's a tricky thing to measure, and it gets overlooked a lot, but it's very real, and people look at their book of business and they're like, oh, I got 2,000 customers now. I have 5,000 customers now. I have 7. But, that's why we would always break everything into active and inactive customers, so everybody listening, break it apart to everybody that's hired you in the last 12 months. And then everybody that hasn't, they're a colder type of lead. So let's talk about kind of the human side of you. It sounds like you've had some good success. You said that you've had a lot of good opportunities and in your life, and sounds like you've had mentors help you, and you've had some really good things going. But you've had to have had some sort of epic fail at some level, some mistake, some pain point, some decision you made. Maybe you're trying to make the omelet, and you didn't just crack the eggs, but they just splattered everywhere, and there was no omelet. Can you tell us a moment kind of like that, so we can kind of learn from your mistakes on some level?
Yeah. So the one that I would, mistakes are learning experiences. So to say that we've made mistakes, we've made a ton, but we needed to make those mistakes in order to get better. Because the thing, if we're talking about cracking eggs and making this omelet, where have we cracked the biggest egg, or where do we crack the most eggs versus getting it right? I would say our number one thing is we don't execute hard enough or fast enough when we know what the right decision is. And most often it's around firing people. I'm a really nice guy. A lot of the people that work for me are really nice people. We love our team. We care about people. But we are too slow to let somebody go that we really, really should. In the same token, if we know about a decision, a type of vehicle that we should transition our fleet to, or a new customer strategy that we need to get involved in, we are too slow to execute over time, and that causes problems for us. It drags things on. So it's not a epic failure, scenario where I would bankrupt or something like that, which still may happen someday. But it is if someone was in here sitting across from me and said, if there's one thing I could learn, I'd say when you know you have the right decision, execute as hard and as fast as you possibly can. If you know someone needs to be let go, and you have 5 jobs tomorrow, you need them there to handle those 5 jobs, let them go, figure out the 5 clients, reschedule them, give them discounts, give them free cleanings. It will be better for you to execute hard and fast when you know the decision than to limp along and say, well, he could be fixed, screwed this up, and partly my fault. I would strongly say that our biggest mistakes are our execution mistakes and not executing fast and hard enough.
That's really good advice. That is super, super, super good advice. I hope everybody's listening because we all do this. I mean, at least I think most of us do this, where we just move too slow. We move like the Titanic, and we need to be moving like a jet ski. We need to be able to turn on a dime, make decisions, be decisive, move forward. I know for me, I have the same problem. Like, I hate firing people. I had a grown man just cry and bawl his eyes out one time I had to let go. That was the most uncomfortable thing ever. I mean, he literally sat in my office and was crying because we had to fire him. We had no choice. He couldn't do the job, and it was absolutely awful. But John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire, is a different podcast that's pretty cool. He says, the moment when you should probably fire someone is the very first time you think of it. The very first time it comes in your head, like, I don't know, we might have to let this guy go. Like, that red flag, like the first time that it goes up is probably when you should just get it done and over with.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I used to say that same thing. We've had one person that's proved me wrong. So I don't say that anymore, but I used to say that I've never once thought about firing someone and not had to fire them. And one person has proven me wrong. And what I would say is, if you're thinking about firing someone, the first question you should ask them is, what's going on in your personal life right now? Is there something that's affecting your work? Is there something that's true at home that's making your performance poor at work? And if you can answer that question and you can give them some grace to handle a personal situation, if it's not a personal situation, which everyone will probably give you some excuse, but if it's not a personal situation, then I would say it's a pretty clear-cut thing. You probably need to let them go.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say probably, because that's me being weak on execution again. You should let them go.
Well, no, I appreciate the honesty. I think that's what we want, and I appreciate that so much, because the purpose of this podcast, what I don't want this to be, is to bring on interesting people who talk about how great they are, and then the podcast is over, and everybody on the ladder feels like, wow, that guy's so awesome, and look at me, I'm never going to get there. This stuff can happen, and Mike's a regular guy, super humble. Mike, I love your heart for people. I love the insight you've given us today, just all of it. I'm really thankful for it. I look forward to seeing you out there in the industry. I know you've got some keynotes coming up, I think, and hopefully some more, because people really connect and relate to honest people who are working their butts off and achieving success. We all want that same thing for our businesses too. So, Mike, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Thanks, Josh. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.